Hello everyone, this is DJ and welcome to another episode of RC Retirement. Today I have a question from the YouTube comments that looks like it would be of great interest to everyone. If this guy is going through these sorts of problems himself, then there are lots of others out there who are going through the same. A lot of it might seem like stuff I've covered before, and bits and pieces of it I have. But no one's ever really brought it into its entirety. So that's what I want to show you today. So let's start out with the question from this individual. And he says, Sergeant First Class B here. We've had numerous conversations. You even made a video about a question I had, which I appreciate. I'm currently in the process of being med boarded. I have recently completed all of my compensation and pension exams, C&P. My military service coordinator believes that based on my exams and medical records, I'll receive 100% from the VA. How does the Army decide what they are going to rate me? I read that I'll receive dual compensation from the VA and the Army if the Army rates me over a certain percent. I know the monetary amount I'll receive from the VA at 100%, but not sure what I'll receive from the Army. I read years of service times 2.5% times retired base pay equals disability retired pay or disability percentage not to exceed 75% times retired base pay equals disability retired pay. Can you break your answer down Barney style for me? I'm only an infantryman, LOL. I'm basically just trying to determine how much I will make retired between the VA and the Army. I'm an E7 with 17 and a half years of service. All right, so let's go into some of this. Now, he's got a pretty good idea of how things are going on the surface, and there was a whole lot in that comment. So, like he said, let's break this down piece by piece and see what's going on. So, let's just start up at the top here. He's gone through all of his exams from the VA, which is the first major portion of the Integrated Disability Evaluation System. And he's spoken with his VA military service coordinator. And now he wants to know how this works on the Army side. If the VA is going to rate me one way, how is the Army going to rate him on the other way? Because you always end up with two disability ratings when you go through the disability evaluation. So let's take a quick peek at that. So for starters, I'm going to pull up a calculator that I have. This is proprietary. This is my stuff here. And in a moment, I'll actually explain how the VA math works. I've covered that in the past, but this is a good time to review it. So, just looking at this, I have a list of conditions that this person has, not this individual. I've just made up some conditions for a fictionalized version of this individual. And you can see that I've listed them. And off to one side, I have DOD, yes, no. So each of these conditions has a disability rating, but here's how it works when you go through disability evaluation. First of all, the VA will identify all of your conditions, whether they're service-related, and then if they are, they will assign a disability rating to each condition. The military will then review those conditions with ratings and determine if any of those conditions inhibit you from being able to perform as a service member or your specific occupational specialty. So in this case, our individual is an infantryman, and a whole lot of things, a whole lot more in many cases, will apply as disabling for an infantryman than they would for someone, say, in an office environment. So I won't read all the conditions, but let's just look at a couple of them. So post-traumatic stress disorder has a rating of 50%, and I can't see how you would get that. Well, there are ways to get that without being in combat or other traumatic instances, but let's just say that it was service connected. So when the disability evaluators on the Army side look at that, they'll say, yes, that does inhibit you from being an infantryman. So they move it from the VA column into the Army column. Notice right underneath that is sleep apnea. And this is not, in 99.9% of cases, considered a disabling factor on the military side. That is because technology has progressed to the point that you can even deploy to austere environments and have portable CPAP machines and other treatments for this condition and be able to function. So that is normally not considered a disabling factor. So on my sheet here, I listed that as no for disabling. And you can see how it worked all the way down. Now, based on how VA math works, all of these different percentages, depending on whether they're VA pure or also on the military side, will equal a different overall rating. So now let's go into how VA math works real quick. So I've got a nice little cheat sheet, or a little 4-slide presentation that I was able to obtain back in the dark ages. And this is a great description of how VA math works. So on this, we're going to assume someone with 3 conditions. For the moment, we're not going to worry about whether they're Army disabling or just VA disabling. For this example, we're just going to worry about the fact that these conditions exist. So we've got a guy with 3 conditions: a back condition, sleep apnea, and a knee problem. And those conditions have respectively 50%, 50%, and 30%. Now, in logical math, when you add those numbers up, it equals 130. But this is VA math. It's a little bit different. And here's how it goes. So you start with the highest rating and start subtracting those ratings from the healthy part of the body. So for the first rating, 100% minus 50% equals 50% of a healthy body remaining. We then move on to the next condition, and you're now applying the next percentage to the remaining healthy portion of the body. So there was 50% of a healthy body remaining. We've got another 50% rating. 50% of 50 is 25. So that leaves 25% of a healthy body remaining. So now we move on to the last rating, which is 30%. So we're taking 30% out of the remaining 25%. And 25%, or 30% of 25 is 7.5. So now you take those 3 numbers, the 50, 25, and 7.5, add them together. That equals 82.5. And since VA ratings are always in multiples of 10, if the last digit is 4 or less, then they round down to the lowest percentage. And if it's 5 or higher, they'll round up. But that is the simple version of how VA math works. So now that we've had those reviews, we have an idea of how The military is going to look at each rating and determine whether it is disabling as a soldier or as your military occupational specialty specifically. And some will, some won't. Now let's look at what that means dollar-wise. So I've got a couple of more notes here. And I'm just going to run down the list. I'll show it on the screen and I'll run down the list. Not reading all of them because you're going to see them. So if you have a disability rating from the military of 30% or higher, then you'll be medically retired. And as an E7 with 17 years, 30% would be $1,727. 50% would be $2,193. 80% would be $3,290. And since military disabled pay can only go up to 75%, it doesn't matter if your military rating is 80, 90, or 100. The amount of retired pay will be the same. Now, this is not the case for VA compensation, of course. That's a horse of a different color, and I'll show that next. So VA compensation for 100%, because that's what we assumed for this individual based on his comments. VA compensation for a married individual, and I used some of the calculations from the previous video I made from him. So based on his marital and family status, his VA compensation came out to $3,321.85. And his length of service retirement, based on the amount of part-time and full-time service that he had, was $1,727. That's actually why his 30% rating is what it was. It would have been a little different had he not been an AGR soldier. So now we see the amount of medical retirement and the amount of VA compensation. Now with medical retirements, you do not receive both of these concurrently unless you have other factors apply. And I'm not going to go into those because this is just going to get too long if I do. All I'll say right now is this individual does not meet the criteria for concurrent receipts. So there will be an offset between the military retirement and the VA compensation. So whatever he gets from the military is going to be offset dollar for dollar by the VA, which, if you remember the numbers from before, VA was higher than all of those numbers that I put on the screen. So his military pay is going to be completely offset by VA compensation. So now we have the question of whether combat-related special compensation would apply to this person. And I don't have the information to say that it does or does not, but let's look at some examples of how that might affect him if he is eligible. So I've got the same percentages that I had with military pay up here now. And if his CRSC rating, which is a separate rating from the other two, equals any of these, then based on my calculations, his combat-related special compensation will be these amounts. So just to read off a few, 30% would be $493.35. 50% would be $526.04. 80% would be $256.35. And 100% would be $1,727. Now, I know those of you who are listening in podcast form can't see this. There's actually a point where his CRSC values are going down even though the disability ratings are going up. And that is a quirky little factor to do with the CRSC formula, which is essentially if you have higher amounts of military pay then or higher amounts of military pay remaining after a certain point or after the VA offset, then you're only going to get the maximum for your particular length of service retirement. So they'll take whatever you have remaining from length of service, or correction, from the offset, and then see how that compares to length of service. And the closer you are to length of service, then the less CRSC you're going to get. So just as a quick example, let's say you have a length of service retirement eligibility of $1,000. You're getting $1,200 from the military for medical retirement, and you're getting $1,500 from the VA. So, nope, let's back that up. Let's say you're getting $1,000 from the VA. So you take the $1,200 from the medical side, subtract $1,000, and that leaves $200. Your length of service retirement is also $1,000. So take the $200, subtract that from length of service, that's $800. So that's the maximum CRSC you can receive, is $800. But now, just from that simple example, you can see how things can get weird very quickly. And please check out my videos specifically on how CRSC is calculated so you can get more info on that. I don't want to drag out this video longer than need be to answer this gentleman's question. But as you can see, there are different values for different ratings on everything, and it's really difficult to tell what amount of money you're going to get from one source until you've got all the data to fill in the blanks. So I'm going to say to this individual, when you get your final ratings and when you get your estimated separation date, send me another message and I will compute everything exactly so that you have the best idea possible. You're going to get estimates from your PEBLO, from your Physical Evaluation Board Liaison Officer. Don't trust them. I'm not saying don't trust the PEBLO, I'm saying don't trust the numbers. Because PEBLOs and military service coordinators on the VA side are taught how these different factors affect active duty personnel, not reservists. And an AGR soldier is still a reservist, so there are a lot of reserve component factors that still need to be considered. You're not active duty pure, so a lot of what these folks are saying, though they may be trying to give you the best info they have, it's not exactly correct because the reserve component factor is not being considered. So that's essentially it. That's the gist of how the Physical Evaluation Board is going to affect this person. And I will post the VA math presentation with this episode so that everyone can take a look at it. And I'll also post the little comparison of the overall VA and DoD ratings that I showed you earlier. By the way, those of you on the podcast, I had listed a dozen conditions, and the overall VA rating was 100%, but because only certain of those conditions were considered disabling on the military side, the overall rating on the military side was 80%. So take a look at the show notes and the attachments that are going to go with those, and I think you'll have some great material to understand this. I'll also put a couple of links to other episodes that expand on CRSC calculations and how IDES works. That's all I've got for today. As always, I thank you for taking your time to spend with me, and as I said in another video, thank you for pushing the subscriber count over 1,000. It's been a long time coming, and I greatly appreciate everyone coming together and making that happen. So that's a great little milestone passed. If you would like to support this program, and help me continue doing this, then please go to patreon.com/rcretirement and join at any of the subscriber levels you see there, or you can create one of your own. Keep in mind that if you subscribe for $25 or more, then for any of the services I provide individually, such as retired pay or CRSC or any of a number of things you can find on my website, I will provide a 20% discount if you are a subscriber for $25 or more. So one plays off the other, and you can actually save quite a lot of money that way. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please send me an email at dj@rcretirement.com, and I will answer those straight away. Also, if you have ideas for topics you'd like me to discuss, send me a message by email or drop a comment on YouTube, and I will make that happen also. There's always something to be answered in the retirement world, so let's answer as many of those questions as possible. All right, last thing, of course, since we just had that subscriber milestone, let's keep growing. So please hit subscribe and like and share for all these episodes that you find useful. And let's make this channel grow. Let's get this information into the heads of people that need it so they can make informed decisions. All right, everyone. Thanks again. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.
If you liked what you heard on today's episode, then please go below and give it a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe to this channel. Also, please let other people know about this channel and the information it can provide for them. If you have questions or comments, then please have no qualms about posting them in the comments section below. Please remember the RC Retirement YouTube channel and the RC Retirement website are not recognized or endorsed by the Department of Defense, the Department of Veterans Affairs, or any other government agency. The information presented in these resources are for entertainment and informational purposes only. Also, the content of either of these resources should not be considered financial or legal advice. Please consult with your own legal counsel, accountant, or financial planner before making any decisions based on what you have learned here. As always, thank you for watching the RC Retirement YouTube channel.